We drew attention to the words of French President Macron, who, answering a question about the possible delivery of aircraft to Ukraine, noted, I quote, that nothing is prohibited in principle, provided that it, in particular, will be useful for the military of Ukraine, and this is not will lead to an escalation of the conflict and to strikes on the territory of Russia, will not weaken the defense capability of France itself. End of quote. This is kind of absurd. Sorry. Of course. You'll all excuse me. But the readiness of Paris to supply Kiev with fighter jets was also confirmed by the French Minister of Defense, who visited Ukraine on January 28. Is the President of France really sure that if heavy weapons and aircraft are supplied to the Kiev regime for combat operations, this will not lead to an escalation of the situation? I refuse to believe that such logic can be in an adult. Such statements only increase the Zelensky regime's already insatiable appetite, which, with shelling of hospitals and massacres of civilians, has clearly shown how Western military injections, as Mr. Macron said, supposedly do not lead to an escalation of the conflict. Well, of course, they supposedly give peace. Apparently, from these planes they will scatter cookies and sweets? Right? I have different feelings. The other day, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine and the former ambassador of this country, who was expelled from Germany, Melnik, demanded submarines from Germany, I quote, in order to kick the Russian fleet out of the Black Sea. End of quote. An advisor to the head of the office of the President of Ukraine, Tadalyak, said that Ukraine is conducting intensive negotiations. This is a direct quote, with Western countries on the supply of aircraft and long-range missiles to the Kiev regime. End of quote. Probably, it was also within the framework of the de-escalation that they decided to ask Germany for submarines? To scare the dolphins? Right? There has to be some sort of rationality in all these statements that we hear. If this is a fundamental decision that is made by this or that sovereign country, then the leadership of this country should be responsible for its actions, not contradict them with words, and not think that you can hide behind phrases about peace and de-escalation while signing regular decrees and decrees on the allocation of weapons, heavy equipment to support the Nazi regime. This will not work. This is not the way out. What is happening now on the European continent, including in France? There, hundreds of thousands of citizens speak out, including going out into the streets, about the madness of what is happening in the space of their country and all of Europe. It seems to me that this should be a good signal, that this is not only Russian propaganda. Let me remind you that through the efforts of the French leadership, the information field of this country has been cleared of the presence of Russian television, in particular RT France. Of course, we will answer this. We have already spoken about it. But that is not the point. This persecution has been deployed for a long time. Now, look, now there is no such broadcast. There are no people who, from the point of view of the Élysée Palace, threaten the information security of France. And what? Are there less problems? Or have the French felt less of these problems? Of course not. These problems were before, and they remain. Moreover, with such a policy of the Élysée Palace, they will be aggravated. On January 31st, it became known about the plans of the German defense concern Rheinmetall to deliver to Ukraine, if necessary, up to 139 Leopard tanks. In addition to this, its head Armin Paperger, in an interview with Reuters, Informed about the company's ability to significantly increase the production of artillery shells and tank ammunition, and about its intention to establish in Germany the production of American HIMARS multiple rocket launchers together with Lockheed Martin. Surely Germany is not a party to the conflict? Or is there some doubt about it? Look at the statements they make. See what intentions they are talking about. You perfectly understand that this will not be done as humanitarian aid. It is not the employees of the German corporation who will chip in to supply this equipment to Ukraine. This will be a government order and a corresponding political decision. Once again, we want to emphasize that any weapons supplied to the Nazi Kiev regime are considered by the Russian armed forces as a legitimate military target, and they will be destroyed. For those who have not yet realized, I would like to repeat that by helping Ukraine, the West is pursuing its own selfish goals. For one reason, the West does not help the people of Ukraine, but it helps the Kiev regime in counteracting our country. All deliveries of weapons to the Kiev regime are paid for with the blood of ordinary Ukrainians, whom they drive to the front to protect the financial interests and geopolitical aspirations of the United States of America and its allies. This is all. This bloody adventure has no other meaning. Only one. I apologize. This is probably not very correct, but it will be succinctly said. The United States of America has been looking for a long time for those who will fulfill this mission. The only one they found, and who has no conscience or mind left, is Zelensky's Kiev regime. But such people really had to be searched for during the day with fire, so that they were people born on their own land, and who destroyed everything that their fathers and grandfathers dreamed of. I think, of course, this could hardly be found, but there is one such. It is Zelensky. To ruin such a country with your own hands, you have to try. Of course, he is a talented person.